You know, when we look at a flower, what do we usually see? Beauty, right? Color, fragrance. But what if I told you that beneath that pretty surface is a whole world of high-stakes drama, brilliant engineering, and complex strategy? Because a flower, it isn't just an ornament. It's an intricate and absolutely fascinating reproductive machine.
And this diagram really just pulls back the curtain, doesn't it? It's so much more than just petals and a stem. You've got the male parts, the stamens, and the female parts, the pistil, all working together like this incredibly sophisticated biological factory. And this is the stage where our whole story is going to unfold.
So this brings us right to the fundamental problem that pretty much every plant has to solve. I mean, think about it. If you're literally rooted to the spot, how in the world do you find a mate to create the next generation? Well, that's the central mission we're going to explore right now.
All right, so here's our roadmap. We're going to follow this incredible journey from the very beginning all the way to the end. From creating a tiny little messenger to developing the actual fruits that we eat. So how does a plant solve that huge problem of being stuck in one place? With this, the flower. It is the plant's brilliant solution to being immobile. It's part billboard, part landing pad, and it's engineered for one ultimate purpose: sexual reproduction.
Now, to pull off that mission, the flower has to bridge the physical gap between itself and a potential mate. It needs a messenger. And in our story, that messenger is the pollen grain. So let's take a look at how this tiny hero is actually made. The whole process kicks off in the stamen, which is the male reproductive part. And the key player here is the anther, that fertile tip right at the end of the long stalk. You could think of the anther as the factory where all our little pollen messengers are going to be forged. And if we could peek inside that factory, we'd see the production lines. Those 4 circular chambers, those are the microsporangia, or, pollen sacs. This is where millions, and I mean millions, of pollen grains are about to be mass-produced. So this process has a name, microsporogenesis. It all starts with what are called diploid pollen mother cells. Each one of these cells goes through meiosis. That's a special kind of cell division that basically halves the genetic information. And this is absolutely crucial, right? So that when it eventually combines with the female half, the new seed has a complete set of instructions. So this process creates a little group of 4, a tetrad, of what are called haploid microspores. Then they just separate and mature into individual pollen grains. It's an incredibly efficient 4-for-1 deal. And here is the final product. Just look at it. That tough, often spiky outer shell is called the exine. It's made of a substance called sporopollenin, which is one of the most durable organic materials known to science. It's basically biological armor, designed to protect the precious male gametes inside during their really dangerous journey. Okay, so our messenger is armed and ready for its trip. But, every mission needs a destination. So now let's turn our attention to the target of this whole quest: the female reproductive structures, which are hidden deep inside the flower.
The target is located right inside the pistil. Now, this is made of 3 parts. You've got the stigma, which is a sticky landing pad up top, the style, which is a long passageway, and then at the very base, the ovary, which acts like a protective casing for the ultimate prize. And if we zoom in even further, deep inside that ovary, we find the ovule. And nestled securely inside the ovule is the embryo sac. Now this is the female gametophyte. It's the vault containing the all-important egg cell. The creation of this embryo sac is called megasporogenesis. It also starts with a single mother cell that goes through meiosis to make 4 new cells. But here's the critical difference from the pollen side of things. 3 of those cells just degenerate. They disappear. Only one single functional megaspore survives to develop into the embryo sac. It's a much more conservative strategy, definitely quality over quantity. So, the stage is set. We have our armored messenger, and we have our hidden target. Now it's time for the action sequence, the high-stakes mission of getting that pollen all the way from the anther to the stigma. This is the Great Pollen Voyage. First off, there are 2 basic strategies. You've got self-pollination, which is the simple option. Pollen just moves to the stigma of the very same flower. It's super reliable, but it doesn't create much genetic diversity. Then there's the riskier but potentially more rewarding strategy, cross-pollination. This is all about getting your pollen to a completely different flower. And to pull off cross-pollination, plants have evolved 2 main methods. First, there's the brute force approach of using the wind. You just produce massive, massive quantities of light, dry pollen, and hope.
Just hope some of it lands on the right target. And then there's the more targeted approach, bribery. You use colorful flowers, sweet nectar, strong scents. Basically, you hire an animal courier, a bee, a bird, a bat, to make a direct delivery for you. And this bribery can lead to some truly incredible partnerships. I mean, the relationship between the yucca plant and its moth is a perfect example of coevolution. The moth is the only creature that can pollinate this flower, and in return, the flower lets the moth lay its eggs inside the ovary, where its larvae can then feed on some of the developing seeds. It's amazing. They literally cannot survive without each other. So, after that incredible journey, whether it was by wind or by wing, the pollen has finally arrived at its destination. We've now reached the climax of this entire mission, the moment of fertilization itself.
Now, when a pollen grain lands on the right stigma, it's not a passive event at all. A really sophisticated chemical conversation starts up between the pollen and the pistil. It's kind of like a secret handshake. If the stigma recognizes the pollen as compatible, as one of its own, it gives the green light to proceed.
And with that handshake approved, the final challenge begins. The pollen grain grows this tiny tube. It's actually burrowing its way down through the long style, racing against any competitors to deliver its precious cargo, 2 male gametes to the embryo sac that's waiting down below.
And this is where things get truly brilliant. It's a phenomenon unique to flowering plants called double fertilization. Just as the name implies, 2 separate fusions happen. One male gamete fuses with the egg to create the zygote, that's the future embryo. But the second male gamete fuses with the central cell to create something called the endosperm. And this is absolute genius, because it means the plant doesn't waste energy making food for the embryo until it knows fertilization is a sure thing. That endosperm, that's the payoff.
And that endosperm created in that second fertilization is what kicks off the final stage of our story, the incredible transformation from a fertilized flower into a fruit.
So that endosperm tissue basically becomes the embryo's own personal lunchbox. It's a nutrient-rich food supply. Now, in some seeds, like this bean on the left, the embryo eats up the entire endosperm before it's even done maturing. In others, like the maize kernel on the right, the endosperm sticks around, providing food for the seed when it finally decides to germinate.
And this brings our whole story full circle. After a successful mission, the fertilized ovule develops into a seed, which contains the next generation embryo and its food supply. At the exact same time, the ovary that was protecting it starts to swell and ripen, and it becomes the fruit. So the next time you eat an apple or a tomato, you're looking at the direct result of this secret journey. It's a biological masterpiece, perfectly designed to protect and disperse the future. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other secret missions and epic journeys are unfolding in the natural world right under our noses?